is Frank with Tiny Plastic Spacemen. In case you want to see a video of me washing a huge sink full of expensive resin model parts from Forge World, you're in luck. It's coming right up. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below and I'll get to them as soon as I can. I'm here in the kitchen, standard British kitchen, with basically we've got all the parts for the Warlord here and a bunch of stuff to wash it with. And I've already done a video on how to clean your parts, but I figure I may as well do another one with all of the Warlord parts. So what we've got here is kind of an assembly line sort of operation. We've got all the resin parts that need to be cleaned. We've got a hot kettle here that's got freshly boiled water to top that up. We've got the hot water boiler has been on for about an hour or so, but it's not quite hot enough really, I think. I do have a sink full of hot water here and the thermometer. It's just over 100 degrees Fahrenheit and about 40-45 degrees Celsius. So it gives you an idea of how hot it should be. Basically there's a wax release agent spray that's sprayed inside of the silicone molds, and you want to remove all of that as much as you can, especially if you're going to be priming with airbrush primer. If you're going to be priming with spray can primer, it's not as critical, but I would still wash all the parts. Anyway, it's something you need to do with resin parts. So what else do we have here? We have a clean sink where I'm going to be putting all the stuff after I've washed it into the soapy water, and then when that gets full, I'll rinse it off in warm water and put it either here in the drying rack, here on this drying pad, which is actually quite wet because I've just had to wash a bunch of stuff, which is now actually drip drying in the dishwasher. But if that were empty, you could actually put the big pieces in the dishwasher to drip dry as well. If you don't have a sink handy, or you know the kitchen's being occupied, luckily I'm actually alone in the house right now, so I don't have to worry about taking up too much space. But I've got basically a car washing bucket here with one of those grit guard things. It actually has little handy finger holes. I didn't realize that. I just got this. I haven't even used it to wash the car yet. It's more for washing Titan parts, isn't it? But anyway, that's another option for you. So I'm not going to be using that. That's just here for an example. So I'm going to reset the camera now and just get to washing. Alright, so yeah, we've got our sink of hot but not too hot water. If you can hear the boiler, don't worry about it. Hopefully you can still hear me. I do have this is a brand new dish scrubber thingy. I'm not going to use this because we use this for the dishes and I will get yelled at very loudly if I do use these. So I'm not going to be using these. I will be using this old dishwashing rag, especially for the big flat parts. And these, which are I got these at the same time as I got the bucket there, the car wash bucket, because this is a nice and soft thing. Now, if you're doing like a model toothbrush is great, but something this size, scrubbing lots of these, yeah, it'll take too long. So this is way better. And for the really big parts, I've got this thing. These are just to wash your car wheels and spokes and grills and stuff like that. So these are really, really good. I also have these, which are bike cleaning brushes. This is meant to get around like the frames of your chainstays and down tube and stuff like that. The only thing is, if you can see, it's got these jagged metal bits that stick out, and I definitely don't want to scratch anything. So that would be very, very bad. If I ever get around to remembering, I will just put like globs of hot glue on that so I can protect my bike and use it to wash resin models. But other than that, I'm not going to use these. That's just an example of, you know, just things that you can use. So when you're going around like the car parts store or the bike shop or even the grocery store to get something like that, you know, if you can get something for $1 or a quid or whatever, go ahead and pick it up, because you never know when you're gonna need it. You can use these disposable washcloths, or these scouring pads, or Brillo pads, Scotch pads, whatever you want to call them. This one is quite used, and actually it will help abrade the surface just a bit. I don't usually worry about that too much though. If you see me turn around very quickly, it's because the kitten is trying to get to the cat's food, and she's not meant to be eating it. So anyway, so these are the parts that I clipped off in the last video. I'm just going to toss them in quite unceremoniously. And also the toe pieces, you saw me put in the middle of the feet. Those, where are they? These pieces here. So these are the toe pieces that go on the outside that connect to that. So these are the first things I'm going to wash. You can tell I'm not being too precious about them. Maybe I've built too many Forge World models or something like that. So what I've done, this sink full of water, you see how much it is. I can't really tell you. It might be a few gallons or something like that. Maybe 10 or 15 liters of water. I put in about a tablespoon of just normal dishwashing soap. Doesn't really matter what brand you use, just use whatever's in the kitchen. And then just get to scrubbing. And I can already tell that this brush is going to be absolutely fantastic. So there we go, that's the first piece washed. And again, the idea is to let the hot water and the soap do most of the work, basically releasing the mold release agent from the plastic parts. Now some resin model companies will use some sort of spray oil or something like that. I think what Forge will use is basically a canned spray wax. So I'm going to reposition the camera so you can see this just a little bit better, and crack on. Okay, so with these parts now washed and scrubbed, I'm just going to rinse them with some warm water and set them aside. So again, the idea of the washing is to remove the mold release agent, and for me it's kind of a final check of things that I might need to correct. And then the idea with what you want to do, the reason why you want to rinse them is so that you can remove the soap, so the paint and the glue stick on there properly. So now with these rinsed, I'm just going to shake the water off them and then set them on the drying pad so that there's not so much water that has to evaporate off of them. Alright, so with my little drying area here, I'm just basically just going to try to keep things semi-organized to where they're, these are just basically just going to drip dry. I'm not going to put I've got the window open, but I'm not going to go too crazy trying to arrange these perfectly so that they're drying. And again, one of the purposes, or one of the things I'm doing while I'm washing everything, is having a look to see if I missed anything. And on a lot of these lower leg pieces, I actually did. But these are really easy because this is going to be glued on. I'm not too worried about. I'll just clip those off when I'm ready to assemble them. I missed didn't cut off the bottoms of the sprues on any of these pieces, but again, not a big deal. So with that done, I'm going to move on to the next bag. So one of the things to do is to just keep an eye on how warm the water is. It's definitely starting to cool off. Obviously this is a large sort of surface area. And so I previously boiled this kettle. If you don't have an electric kettle like this, you can just have a big pot of water on the stove. And I'm just going to refill it with some water. It's a piece I missed in the suds. So I'm going to kind of speed up this bit because this kettle is going to start going. It's kind of loud, the boiler's going, and I'm just washing parts now. So this part here was it was bent quite out of shape, and so again, this is one of the things I'm kind of looking out for. I'm running some cold water over it while I'm holding it in the shape where I believe it's meant to be, and so it's fixed a bit, but I am going to have to rebend that in place. But just going to carry on now because that's down the road. I don't have to worry about that part for a while. Alright, so again, just going to rinse these off, get the soap off of these parts, and let them drip dry. Alright, so that is everything washed so far, except for the bag of the smallest parts. Now I don't want to do these, your method may vary, but I don't like to do these in a whole sink like this. And this sink is starting to get a bit, I mean, you can see how sort of yellowy the water is. That's probably from the wax, I'm sure. That was the spray wax that was on all the parts. So I'm just going to drain this and just get a nice big bowl like this. Put about, I don't know, half a teaspoon or so of soap in there. And this is freshly boiled water. And I'm just going to top that off with cold water. Until I'm happy with the temperature. It's still quite hot, actually. That's pretty good there. And again, that's about 100 degrees or 42 degrees Celsius. So now I'm just going to get all my small parts, like these void shield generator pieces, which again, these are going to be magnetized. And a good number of these small parts. I don't want to put all of them in right away. Kind of doing the bigger ones, the ones that are easiest to grab at the moment. So there's still quite a few that are there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my toothbrush actually for these parts, and when I'm done, when they're washed and scrubbed, I'm going to put them in this sink here, but to make sure they don't go down the drain, I'm going to put this disposable washcloth there. And probably not a bad idea, this is like one of those things you put in on food in the microwave. I'm going to put that here too, just in case I drop something. They don't go down the drain, because I really don't feel like undoing the plumbing. The U-joint underneath the sink. And again, same exact thing, but I'm just using the appropriate size brush for the part. Once I get onto some of these small parts, that gigantic brush is going to be just way overkill. And this is also, while you have hot water available, this is also a good time to, if you have a bent part like that, you can get one of your other bowls and put the properly hot water. Just chuck that right in there, so that leave it in for a minute or so, and you can straighten it out very, very easily while you're doing all this, while everything's wet, while you've got a towel in a drying area laid out. It just makes the process a lot easier down the road, because if you come to a point where you're gluing something in place and you realize, oh, half these parts are bent out of shape, it gets annoying that you're going to have to, you basically have to stop what you're doing and go get a bowl of hot water so that you can sort it all out. So I'm just going to carry on with these. I think that las cannon is probably just about good to straighten out. So I'm going to fish that out. Yeah, you see how bendy that is. I can make it bend in any way I need. So just going to bend it straight, because there's going to be another las cannon that attaches here, and it's a double las cannon. And there's 4 of these. So I think half of the ones in this particular kit are bent quite a lot. So that's pretty straight, and now what we do is we just run some cold water over it, and that cools the part down, and it firms up the plastic once again, and now it's a lot harder to bend. See? And that's it. It's as easy as that to fix warped parts. Warped, I mean, the very word just makes people think it's irreparable, but it's actually completely fine. So yeah, I've got a bowl of clean hot water there, that's ready for anything that needs to be fixed, and I will just carry on doing all these parts. Okay, that is the last piece. There's nothing else in there. So yeah, that is everything washed. I just need to rinse these parts and carefully lift them out of the sink. If I'd been thinking a little bit better, I would have spread the cloth out a bit more, so that it was I could just lift it out like a like they were spread out on a towel. But what I'm probably going to have to do is get this big bowl again and rinse everything off here, all these small pieces. So I don't want to dislodge this washcloth just yet, because there's still a chance some of these could go down the drain. So carefully. Now if you have like a big like a colander, that would be ideal for something like this. Or a sieve. But it looks like I haven't lost anything. So, time to spread these out on the drying pad. Alright, so here's that big bucket of small parts. And so I'm just going to let these air dry for about half an hour, a little bit more maybe. These drying pads are pretty good. Basically just a towel, but they're still pretty handy. So yeah, that is it. And here's all the rest of the parts in back in the box. I've separated all the pieces for the lower legs and the feet. Those are all here on top of this bag, so I know that I'm going to be getting to these first. Once these are dry, I'm going to put them back in these two bags here, so that they're just kept safe and don't lose them. And that's it. I'm ready to start assembling this weekend probably. So yeah, should be pretty good. I straightened out all of the las cannons that seemed to be slightly bent, and that one piece of armor that was really annoying, I've got that soaking. I just put that in just a couple of minutes ago, so this should be ready to shape back into position. But other than that, hopefully that was a good video for you guys, to I don't know, have a watch and see how long it takes to wash all the parts of a Warlord Titan, which for anyone keeping track is close to 2 hours. But that does include setting everything up. So yeah, if you have everything ready to go, it's, I don't know, it took me about an hour and a half or so. But otherwise, yeah, that's it. So the next video should be me sort of trying to figure out how to make the base, because that will determine where I put the feet and everything. And probably start assembling the feet, and then once I figure out the stance that is going to be used, make the base at that point. So yeah, that's about it. Hope you enjoyed it. So there we are, we're ready to start building, finally. It's taken a little while, but yeah, there we are. Everything is washed and prepped and ready to start gluing. If you have any questions, leave them down below. If you enjoyed the video, please give us a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. Check us out at tinyplasticspacemen.com, on Instagram at TPS Painting Studio, and of course we're on Facebook. Just search for Tiny Plastic Spacemen. So that's it, and we'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching.